What's up? I'm Brian from Ductile Studios. I'm here to talk about the .com today. The .com is a new website builder that really has changed the way that I like to build websites. Today, I'm going to take you for a walkthrough of the platform and show you all the different components that go together in making the .com an awesome experience. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I've started with the Getting Started website. I think it'll be a good way to show you around the platform while at the same time something you can follow along with. All right, so I'm going to jump in here and we got our worksheet. Worksheet is really where everything's done. You can move it around, resize it. I'm just going to go ahead and show you all the components to start off. Pages we'll hop into a little bit later. Blocks and sheets we're going to go into in detail in another video. We're going to start kind of from the bottom here. So add-ons are components that we can link into your site that give you additional functionality either while building the site or in using the site itself. Font Awesome is a icon set that you can make use of. The design add-on brings in a bunch of pre-made designs that you can insert straight into your website. The SEO add-on will add some more components for either linking Google Analytics or no follow, no index. And Bootstrap will enable you to use the Bootstrap JavaScript library within your site. Coming up next, you got fonts and media. These are really your assets. The media is all the pictures and icons and whatever assets that you add into the website. Adding media to the site's super easy. It's really just drag and drop. So I'm gonna grab a picture of my buddy Ranger and just drop it right here on the media row. It's gonna go ahead and upload it. And there we go. That's Ranger in my Jeep. This works anywhere within the site actually, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but if you want to just bulk upload, you can drop media straight onto the media tab and it'll show up here. As you upload, you've got media that you can access back to and grab the link. One thing to note here on the media, click on it, you can preview it. Right up in the top right corner here, there's a copy asset URL, and that will give you the link to the media for you to use elsewhere within the site. That's a super handy one. Fonts are very similar. Actually, under this hamburger menu on the right hand of the worksheet is a font sheet. This is where you can drag and drop your custom fonts that you want to use within your site and upload them to your site and serve them from here and manage all the weights and whatnot. But your fonts will also show up on this fonts row. In all of these cases, you've got the ability to add new directly from a dialog. So if you click on the plus for either media or fonts, it'll actually bring up a Finder or Explorer window and you can go searching for the file you're looking for. One other cool thing about the media is this compression. There is a built-in compression for the media once you've uploaded it. You just hit that and it'll run through your site and optimize, compress. I've seen no degradation of images that I've optimized with this, and definite savings in size. So this is always something I do regularly as I'm building a site. I try and size images appropriately for their use in the first place, but this is kind of a last step to really get all that extra speed out of your site that you can. A couple other little UI notes. Your icon will take you back to your main set of sites. The search bar down here is actually your command palette. That can be accessed with Command K. You're clicking right within the bar. The command palette really allows you to access all the different commands and functionality of that given screen. We'll see this a lot later as we jump into the pages. Over the hamburger menu, clear the cache of your site. You can manage redirects and also, like I mentioned, your fonts. The Deploy All button will deploy all the pages of the site that are not locked. So if you make a change on a footer, say, and it's on every page, this is the easy way to not have to open up each of the pages. You can lock all so that they can't be deployed and go back and unlock the ones you do want. Fresh will just refresh your list, and visit the site will take you to see the live view. This is a good spot to stop and mention the fact that because you're building in the browser, you're getting a live view as you're building. Gone are the days of building within a platform and seeing one thing and then you go to deploy it and it's different. What you see is what you get for real here. Everything that's being rendered on your screen is doing it just the same way your browser is going to do it. And then the last thing to take a look at is adding pages and organizing pages. Each of these have a drop down where you can sort by newest, oldest, alphabetical, which as your site gets bigger, it gets very handy to be able to find your way around. You've got a hamburger menu here that allow you to visit that page, duplicate it, or delete it. So now we've got a duplicate and can work on that separately and spin that off into something else. We're starting to get into the real benefit of the .com here, in that once you build something, it's infinitely reproducible. As we get into this, I'm going to show you a couple different ways about how to duplicate items that you've built and really speed up replicating work as you start building it. It's the nice thing about building this way is you get to customize everything yourself and then replicate that, so you're not having to do the busy work over and over, but you still have full control over that. Once you jump into the page, the worksheet's going to change to page editing mode. So the way the Pages worksheet is organized is your HTML elements are on the left-hand side, and all your CSS properties are on the right. This takes a little getting used to at first, but it's really powerful the way you can get access to any property. So let's look at this a little bit. You've got two sections here, the navigation and the hero, which correspond to the navigation at the top and the rest of the content on the page. As I open these up and expand them, we've got all our HTML components. Within the navigation section is a set of links, and within the link is a image, in this case a logo. Coming down in the hero section, we've got two columns. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. We've got a left column and a right column. And then within that, we've got our heading elements and link elements. Right column has the image. So on the left here, we've got all the HTML components that make up this page. At the top of your page, you'll see the URL of your page. In this case, homepage. This is our home page. If you double click in there, you'll get a blank relative URL for the home page, but this is where you could put getting started. And you'll see that change. Now this is the URL of this page. This is where you set URL for each page. Beyond that, if you click the hamburger on the page itself, you'll get the attributes of the page, which shows you your getting started URL and whether it's in the sitemap. But also, this is where you access the head of the page. Everything on that initial screen is built within the body of the page. By clicking on the head, you get in the head of the page, and you can set your favicon, you can set your document title, character encoding and viewport. There's some base styling that goes on. Metadata gets put here. You can put Google Analytics scripts, you can call scripts. Anything you need to call in the head of the page would be done here, and you can click back and forth between that in this top row of the worksheet. On the right hand side, we've got all the CSS properties for each element. These can be assigned directly to the element, to the parent, and all the way up, so that everything cascades just like you would expect it to. If you're ever in a position where you don't want to scroll back and forth, Command K again opens up the command palette and allows you to search for any command. So if we want to check out position, just search for position, and it'll take us further down and you'll get position. Within the HTML elements, you can set the properties in various places. For sections and divs, you can just double click and change the label. The labels are always visible on sections and divs because that's really how you're organizing your sites and your elements. Now, when you go over to the next field, this is where you're getting into editing the HTML itself. For a link element, the first box is for editing the text. And then the second box is your href or your URL where the link is going to point to. Generally, the most accessed fields are available right here in the worksheet on the element itself. If there is something a little more detailed, then you would hit the hamburger menu and go in the attributes. Attributes give you access to all the different properties for that element. Again, you've got the URL here, which is the same URL you put in the other box. You can target a new window or tab, or you can assign IDs or classes. Different elements are going to have different attributes. So as we get into the image, the source is going to be the same source that you set in the element itself, but then you can change its alt text and add sizes, define its height, width, ID class. Working with images is great. As you add a new image, you're going to have a blank image, but as soon as you click in that source box, it's going to bring up a list of your recently uploaded images. There's Ranger. And you can just scroll through here. If you don't find what you're looking for in the recent images, you can head back to the worksheet as I mentioned previously and find your image and hit that copy asset URL, go back and paste it. And there we're back. You can also drag and drop straight into this source field, and that will upload it, link it, do everything all in one, which is nice. As you're working out of a folder full of assets, you can drag and drop right into the page as you're building it. You'll notice as you click between the different elements that it highlights them within the page. This is an easy way of keeping track of where you're at. One other good way as your pages get more complex is to use the Inspect Element tool. This arrow down here will let you inspect the page just as if you were using developer tools, and it gives you the different elements. As you go around and you click, it'll take you to that element. This is an easy way that as you open up somebody else's page or block or a page you haven't worked on in a while to kind of get your bearings straight and figure out where you're at. There's a couple other buttons to note down here. Versioning is a really cool feature where you can duplicate your page and make changes, but have it all live within the same page. Right now we've just got one version, but if we go ahead and fork this version, once we fork this version, we can now work on this independently of the live version. This works great. If you've got a live site that you don't want to worry about impacting, or just you want to have two different versions that you hop back and forth between. Once you jump into the media queries, you can pick which breakpoint you want to put your changes at. We'll hop into iPad small here, which is 768 pixels. So you'll see all the CSS that is contained within the page, but now we can change this. This is basically a duplicate worksheet where you can make changes just respective to this screen size. So we'll go ahead and make a couple of notable changes just to be able to see. I'm going to go ahead and use background color. And this will cascade down, so let's just do a couple here. Go down to 390 and we'll make it red. And this is cool because you can scroll through these, and every property can be set differently within the media queries, as detailed or as granular as you want. When you want to check your page for being responsive, you can also drag the side of the screen here, which will allow you to test all the screen sizes in between, and you'll see your changes happen as you scroll down. The UX options contain a lot of CSS states that you can use to control different behaviors on your page. Similar to how the media queries work, these open up another duplicate worksheet that allows you to make changes to your properties however detailed or however expansive you want, but within that CSS property. One you're likely to use early on is the hover. So we can come down here to this H1, go to text color, just by changing this one field now when we hover over our heading we get a different color. So rounding out the pages worksheet, you've got save, which will just make changes to the database and save them within the platform. But again, this is another tool for when you're working live. You can save without deploying your changes. You can deploy, you can lock the page so that it can't be deployed, especially when pushing deploy all. This is handy if you've got a couple of pages that are not up to date or you don't want to deploy when you're using deploy all. Refresh is usually not necessary, as you can see as you go through making changes. I use refresh the most when working with JavaScript, because as you make changes to your JavaScript code, you will have to refresh the page to get it to reload the scripts. Visit will take you to the page, and schedule, you can schedule the deploy. So that wraps up the intro to the overall site worksheet and the pages sheets. There's still a lot to go through here. We're going to jump into blocks and sheets in separate videos here coming up next, and hopefully then start building some pages, building out some components and blocks. I hope this was helpful. If there's anything else you'd like to see or questions you have, feel free to reach out or leave a comment. I'm looking forward to making more of these videos and showing a lot more of what the .com can do. I've been using the .com for over a year now, and it's really changed the way that I build websites. The ease of duplicating stuff I've already built and then going back and editing it, it makes it to where making small revisions really aren't painful. You just hop in, change a couple tweaks in a spreadsheet, hit deploy, and you're good to go. It's really been a game changer for me, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody.